Okay, the time is now 4:32. I'd like to call to order the June 17th meeting of the Norwalk Board of Police Commissioners. We have a quorum with Commissioner Lopez, Commissioner Fran Collier Clemens, Commissioner Joseph Palladino, and Mayor Rilling. Did I say Ron Palladino before?
It is Ron.
Oh, okay, because I see Joseph on the name here.
Not
Let's
sure.
change that.
Okay, we could change that, but it's right, Commissioner Ron Palladino. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
So the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 20th, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion?
I move approval of the minutes.
Commissioner Collier
May
Clemens moves approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections, deletions, or omissions?
Yes, there are corrections. On
Okay,
page 4,
yes,
line 1, where it says license plate readers, that should be reader. Remove
Okay.
the S.
move the yes.
And on page 5, paragraph 5, line 1, where it says commission, Collier Clemens, that should be commissioner.
Okay,
And those are all the corrections I have.
okay. Any other corrections or deletions or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as corrected?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions?
I will abstain since I wasn't there.
We have Commissioner Palladino and Commissioner Lopez abstaining. The minutes are approved as corrected. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have anybody waiting to address the Board of Police Commissioners?
If anybody, yes, we do. Mr. Levin, I'm going to unmute him.
Okay, Mr. Levin.
Mr. Levin, you're unmuted.
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, good afternoon. So John Levin, Norwalk resident. Oop, that's not my picture.
That's okay. We can
It
hear
is
you.
now.
That's the
Okay.
most important.
So I know it's rare for people to actually attend the police commission and provide public comment. So this occasion is rare. The Norwalk Police Union contract expires at the end of this month. I have not seen a discussion of the union contract appearing in any of the police commission agendas this year. It seems reasonable to wonder whether this contract, which governs substantial portions of the relationship between the police department and its officers, is of interest to and is reviewed by the members of the police department. So, commissioners, I'm wondering, could you please raise your hands if you have read the current union contract? I'm not able to see who is raising hands or who is not raising hands.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that's an appropriate question. The Board of Police Commissioners have the contract available to them. We are currently in the process of negotiations. We have a human resource manager that has been meeting. I've also met with the police union, and when the new contract is going to be proposed, it will be presented to the Board of Police Commissioners, but it ultimately has to be passed by the Common Council.
Of course, and that's been true in prior years. I'm wondering if there's any discussion. Well, naturally, I would expect there to be some discussion of the police union contract before the new ones are negotiated, if there were to be matters that commissioners might have a concern about. I don't know. It does not appear on the agenda currently, but it might in the future. I don't know. The current union contract includes allowance for random drug and alcohol testing of officers, as did the preceding contract. The preceding contract, however, also included a requirement that any officer selected for random testing must be notified at least 24 hours in advance of the administration of that test. That advance notice requirement seemed odd to me. However, it seems the requirement for advance notice was deleted from the current contract. Are you able to confirm that?
I am not at this point, but again, this is not an item that's on the agenda. And the agenda items are what the limit is for discussion on any particular meeting. The reason being that if we discuss something that's not on the agenda, it becomes a freedom of information violation. So we really can't discuss this.
No problem. I recognize that public comment is on the agenda, and that's the part that I'm seeking to participate in. Next, and my question really was simply a yes or no, but that's okay. Next, I think that police commission members need to be free-thinking and curious. Monthly meetings of the police commission include regular detailed reports with statistics covering a wide variety of staffing and performance measures. But I think it is incumbent upon you, the police commissioners, to also consider what you are possibly not being told and to have enough courage and integrity to ask for it directly. For example, missing completely from these monthly reports are the following items, which I expect commissioners would find useful in performing their oversight role. One, the number of grievances filed by officers during the month, even if it is 0. The number of officers on administrative leave during any part of the month. The number and type of disciplinary actions taken during the month and how many officers were subject to these actions. The number of officers.
I'm sorry, Mr. Levin, you're about to exceed your 3-minute limit.
Okay, that's unfortunate. So I would recognize that there's probably no one else attending this meeting from the public, and I have a few more items that I would like to add to this list and a few additional comments. And with the permission of the commission chair, may I proceed for another minute or two?
Well, the item, obviously, there's a 3-minute limit. You are speaking about the agenda, so we will give you some latitude. We'll give you another minute and a half.
Fantastic. The number of officers, continuing this list that commissioners should be inquiring about. The number of officers subject to random drug and alcohol testing during the month. The number of officers with adverse drug or alcohol tests during the month, random or otherwise. The number of overtime hours worked during the month and the number of officers who worked that overtime. The number of extra duty hours worked during the month and the number of officers who worked those extra duty hours. The number of overtime hours and extra duty hours combined representing the highest amount worked by a single officer during the month. The identity of the entity which contracted the NPD for the greatest number of extra duty assignments and extra duty hours during the month. The number of extra duty assignments which were canceled or terminated early, that is within less than 4 hours during the month. Obviously, this is a long list, but it's hardly complete. Still, some of this information might prove useful for a person who would like to understand why or how NPD members consistently are an overwhelming majority year after year of the highest paid city employees. For comparison, in Danbury, Connecticut, only one police department employee, the department chief, ranks in the top 15 highest paid city employees during 2023. I think our city's police commission has done an excellent job till now, offering praise and encouragement to the officers and their leadership who do this very important work and who, as far as I can tell, do it exceptionally well. But there is a need for more than that. Norwalk's residents and taxpayers deserve better transparency, don't we? I've given these questions considerable thought, and I invite each commissioner who might be interested to contact me directly, and I'm happy to help out. Thank you so much for the extra time.
Thank you, Mr. Levin. Are there any other members of the public that wish to address the police commission?
There are not, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We will close public session. Next item on the agenda is the recognition of the May officer, or should I say May officers of the month. Who will address this? Is that going to be Deputy Chief Blake?
Yes, Mayor. On May 16th, several of our officers from the 2nd Platoon, which is the day shift, and members of our crisis negotiation team responded to a domestic violence situation involving an armed juvenile. They quickly arrived on scene, de-escalating the situation professionally. Recognized for their fantastic and professional actions this month are Lieutenant Garrett Kruger, Sergeant John Petrofessa, Officers Lou Genitazio, Roland Amparo, Erwin Reyes, Stephanie Howard, Jake Coletto, Caden Darrow, Tachikas Lindsay, Stephen Green, Lieutenant Mark Lepore, and Officer Felipe Taborda. I happened to be there. This was during the police memorial event occurring at that time, and the officers did an incredible job of again slowing the scene down, de-escalating the situation. The 14-year-old juvenile was having some issues, and they worked through it. Lieutenant Lepore and Officer Taborda spent a considerable amount of time speaking with the individual and got him to give up. And the individual was provided services and additional services through our behavioral health unit. So it was all in all, just again, a fantastic job on a situation that could have certainly ended a different way.
Thank you. And I see we have several of the officers here zooming into the meeting. This is just another example of the excellent police work that officers do on a daily basis. And while it's difficult to recognize perhaps a few officers for an incident, because there are so many other incidents during the month of any given month, there's always a lot of incidents that could be recognized. But this is one that's particularly recognizable or worthy of recognition because they de-escalated a situation that really could have resulted in something a lot worse, either injury to the young individual or injury to the officers. So, and again, thank you to the police department for the training that they do. Thank you to the supervisors who respond to the scene and take control and help guide the officers, and with the communication. As the new Commissioner Palladino will see over the next couple of months, that police officers on a daily basis do these kinds of things. And it's always impressive. So I truly congratulate the officers. I thank the officers for what they do and applaud them for how they handle these kinds of situations. And I'll open the floor to any other commissioner that wishes to make a comment.
I'd like to thank the officers for an amazing job, and it's a testament to their training and professionalism. And I appreciate it, as every Norwalk resident appreciates everything they do on a daily basis.
Commissioner Lopez, Commissioner Collier-Clemens.
Yeah, I too think, of course, they did a fabulous job. Thank you. The training and preparation surely, of course, comes forth and is seen that you really put your heart into it. And the coordination that took was also really remarkable. So thank you again.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm having difficulty talking. That's why I'm not saying very much today. But I appreciate the effort that all of you all made and utilizing the training that you have in crisis negotiations and just making it seem seamless, but saving a life and saving a family tragedy. It's just amazing how well you work together in concert. So congratulations to each one of you, because without any one of you, this probably would not have ended the way it did. Thank you.
So for the record, congratulations to Lieutenants Lepore and Kruger, Sergeant Petrofeza, Officer Genitazio, Officer Amparo, Officer Reyes, Officer Howard, Officer Coletto, Officer Darrow, Officer Lindsay, and Officer Green, and Officer Taborda. Really a great job. We truly appreciate and congratulations for your recognition as Officers of the Month. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, patrol staffing and May selective enforcement report.
Sure. For the month of May, ending the month of May, we remain fully staffed with 183 officers, 147 sick days used by sworn personnel, 42 workers' compensation days used by 2 officers that were on long-term injury. Our Detective Bureau cases for May of 2024, they opened 48 cases for the month of May, which are delineated in the graph. Suspect was arrested by warrant for 2 robberies that occurred on Westport Avenue. These are the carjackings that you may have seen.
Yeah, that was a great arrest, by the way.
Yes, they were able to identify them, and the individual was subsequently taken into custody in a different jurisdiction. And the detectives involved did a fantastic job wrapping that up and arresting the individual. Pennsylvania authorities contacted the Detective Bureau regarding a child rape suspect. They were able to locate this individual and take him into custody, and he was charged as a fugitive from justice. And they began the extradition process back to Pennsylvania. Additionally, the suspect was arrested and charged with a sexual assault first regarding a pretty heinous crime. So again, excellent work by the detectives, and they were able to make that arrest within a 24-hour period. Our special services unit for the month of May opened 64 cases. Again, they remain very busy. 44 felony arrests, 1 misdemeanor arrest, 45 arrest warrants served, and 7 search warrants executed, including 1 on West Avenue, apartments on West Avenue, where you see they seized a tremendous amount of fentanyl, 83 grams of fentanyl, 1,167 bags of fentanyl, 739 ecstasy pills, and 15 grams of crack cocaine. The individual happened to be on parole and was selling drugs from that location. They also executed a search warrant at the Zaza Smoke Shop on Connecticut Avenue, seizing 1.5 pounds of marijuana and $1,700. They made an arrest on that as well. Special victims.
Just one, if you would, when we talk about special services, special victims, would you explain and explain for Commissioner Palladino what the responsibilities of those divisions are?
Certainly. Commissioner Palladino, Special Services is our division that investigates narcotics, vice, organized crime, and gambling. So their primary duties, for the most part, are fulfill all those. They also investigate illegal, sales from the smoke shops of marijuana, tobacco compliance, and alcohol compliance for our bars and liquor stores throughout the city. Our Special Victims Unit is our investigative unit that is comprised of detectives that investigate crimes against children, or on occasion crimes committed by children. They also is where our school resource officers are assigned. They're the officers that are assigned to the schools that teach DARE and a variety of other things that the school resource officers do. So that's our Special Victims Unit.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I said thank you for explaining it. I appreciate that.
Certainly. Our Special Victims Unit opened 57 cases in May. They arrested a suspect on 6 counts of sexual assault second, risk of injury to a minor, and a harmful communication with a minor. That was an arrest done by warrant after an investigation. They also arrested an individual on a warrant for reckless endangerment first and cruelty to persons. That individual was was a health aide that had not taken care of the patient they were supposed to be taking care of, and that as a result, that individual suffered injuries. So that was again a great investigation conducted by our detectives in that unit. We added a different one for our Marine unit, just to kind of give you an update. Our Marine unit is our full-time unit assigned to the water. There's currently 2 full-time officers and a part-time temporary assignment for the summer officer. The Marine unit's been very, very busy, especially last year, and this year is continuing the trend. We're actually, I think, about 20% increase in call volume this year already.
Yeah, I think I might have added to that. Anyway, go ahead.
The Walk Bridge project is certainly keeps us busy as well. So they had 52 cases for the month of May. They rescued 2 people that were stranded in a kayak off Calf Pasture Beach due to the heavy wind that came in. They could not get back in. They also responded with the tanker fire on 985 to check for runoff going towards the river. Fortunately, there was none. They issued 15 boating violations. They conducted safety outreach at the Sprite Island Yacht Club and hosted students from Side by Side School. They are once again partnering this summer with the Norwalk Hospital Emergency Medical Service to have a paramedic on board during the busier holiday or weekends throughout the summer, which is it just again makes our waterway safer, having that kind of definitive medical care on the water that's able to respond at a minute's notice.
Also, just quickly, if you could explain for Commissioner Palladino about the embedded social workers for the Special Victims Unit, just give an overview.
Absolutely. Chief Dino, do you want to cover that when you talk about the BHU?
Yes.
Is that okay, Mayor? Perfect.
Okay, that'll be fine. Yes. Mhm.
We had 192 total criminal arrests and 6,984 calls for service from the patrol division. Again, day shift continuing to be the busiest shift for the patrol division. Going to the special selective enforcement report, there was 769 total stops for the month. That brings us to a total of 4,905 for the year, which is an increase from even last year. I don't know the percentage increase, but we are up in numbers already. My question, let's see, speeding, we issued 86 infractions, stop signs 63, 27 traffic lights, 43 no license, 12 suspended licenses, 23 no license, 44 cell phones, and 14 DUI arrests. So that's an increase, as you can see, for the month of May. And then as you look at the investigative report, You see the totals are down for the year thus far, which is obviously great news. Any questions?
So
Yes,
we've
I-
had,
Go ahead.
we've had no motor vehicle burglaries. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Well, yeah,
Yep.
no motor vehicle burglaries this year?
No, we certainly have. That was, I think this relates to. I'm gonna have to go, I'll have to get back to you, Commissioner, on the statistics in this particular report.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Chief Blake, thank you for the report. Really appreciate the preparation. And I have a question, if I may go back to, then I want to interrupt your, your discussion on the report. On the special services activity regarding the smoke shop, I know there's a reference to one and there've been others as you are aware. Has there been, aside from the arrest, has that been addressed in terms of, the impact and how they've been affected with licensing, if that has been an issue with the state, if they have such?
So they're not legal marijuana sellers. They're not allowed to sell marijuana, so therefore they don't have a license. They're just doing it illegally. So essentially they're like any other drug dealer.
Right, but they don't, right. So what I'm saying is, do they have any kind of license to be, just even to have a shop is the point?
Other than like zoning, through the city, that is
That's it.
their certificate of occupancy.
So
However,
cigarettes and all that, nothing.
that's correct. And they, one of them shut down as a result of several search warrants executed by our Special Services Division. And again, they're on top of this, and we do spend a considerable amount of time, but there's good reason for it. We had citizen complaints that their children are there buying marijuana, and it's obviously not okay. So we're on top of it, and the investigators remain vigilant.
Well, I appreciate all the effort and work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Chief, on page 2 of your report in a pie graph,
Yes.
thank you so much for changing those colors so I can see the numbers for day shift. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Thank you, Deputy Chief Blake. Now we have Community Affairs, Deputy Chief Dinho.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Welcome, Commissioner Palladino. Yes, sir. For the month of May, the Community Police Services Division had a total of 715 calls for service. The major events that they attended or assisted in during the month of May, we had the I-95 bridge fire, which is a special event, but something that the traffic division, which is within the Community Police Services Division, assisted in covering the traffic posts throughout town that were caused by that bridge fire and the rerouting of I-95. They, at the Stepping Stones Museum, participated in a Touch-a-Truck. There was the Norwalk Walk for Mental Health, the Sono Food Pantry. They assisted the Stamford Police Department with their Memorial Day ceremony. There was the Sono Health Walk and our Norwalk Police Memorial Ceremony, the Shea McGrath Memorial Ceremony. And we went to the Police Academy in Meriden for the memorial ceremony there. They assisted in the Rowayton Memorial Day Parade, the Norwalk Memorial Day Parade, and the Special Olympics Law Enforcement Torch Run. These are not all the events that they attended and assisted with, but these were the major events that we report on every month.
Commissioner Palladino, if you wanted to know anything about what the details of any of those events were, please, feel free to ask, or maybe even call Deputy Chief Dinho in his office, whatever, question you might have regarding these events.
Thank you, Mayor Relly.
Absolutely. Within the Community Police Service Division is our traffic unit. For the month of May, they made a total of 242 motor vehicle stops, just the traffic division. We also, every month, they set out and on a daily basis, they conduct selective enforcement activities, which is basically they watch for traffic violations, and the way we select where they are deployed comes from a combination of complaints or requests that we receive from Norwalk residents as far as speeding, stop sign violations, red light violations. And we also compile information from the University of Yukon, analyzes traffic as accident crashes throughout the entire state. We get them for Norwalk, and then we deploy officers to, shall we call them hotspots that we notice that there are more or concentrated motor vehicle accidents. So that's how they decide where they are going to deploy every month. So we have a listing of some of the more important locations, which were Calf Pasture Beach Road, West Norwalk Road, Fox Run, East Avenue, Gristmill Road, West Rocks Road, Murray Street, Riverside Avenue, and Winfield. These are not all of them. They are out there on a daily basis, but these are the major ones. The Behavioral Health Unit, which is what the mayor had referred to previously, is within the Norwalk Police Community Services Department. And what they do, a little over sometime last year, it was a new unit that went into operation to address calls for repeat service for Norwalk residents that may need some additional services. Putting into example, for example, like mental health. When the police department gets that phone call, they respond. And before, we would then largely take them to the hospital, and it would, in most cases, end our involvement with that. The hospital would evaluate the individual, in many cases, release them back into, their residence. And then this again would lead to another call for service to the police department and EMS, and it would be in essence a revolving door. So what has been implemented is a way of providing more services, looking much deeper into every particular case that comes in, and we're able to connect them with social services, liaison through Norwalk Hospital. They work with the court in order to provide them better care. And what this had aimed to do, and what it has very successfully done, is it decreases the repeat calls for service from certain individuals, meaning that they're getting the more complete, appropriate care. And it has become a very successful unit, so much so that the sergeant in charge of it, Ryan Everts, and the officer in there, Justin Colmer, were just asked to speak and present at an FBI conference in regards to their behavioral analysis unit. So this program has been extremely successful here in Norwalk at reducing repeat calls for service for individuals with need. So in this last month, they opened 43 new cases for service. One of them was referred from an outside agency. They were able to address 42 of those 43 cases. They closed 37 of them. 8 of them were self-initiated by that unit itself. And then we received a total of 34 referrals from all departments or divisions within the police department. So they have become extremely busy, and they have embedded clinicians. So it's not just the sergeant and the officer who receives specialized training in that, but we have professional clinicians. So they do an incredible job at offering these services. And then last, we have the training division. They taught a total of 12 subject areas last month, with a total of 93 officers in attendance receiving recertification training, which is an ongoing process every month.
Could you also explain for Commissioner Palladino the post-required training for police officers?
Yes, so the post-required training, I believe, is 60 hours that is required every 3 years. So it's a constant process, meaning that every officer in the state of Connecticut, to keep his, if we want to call it a license, to be a police officer, has to meet this training number, and it's 60 hours, and we offer it, we have it in rotating. So this way, not every officer expires the same year. They spread it over a 3-year cycle, and we are constantly in a rotating training process to make sure that they get all the training required by the state of Connecticut Police Academy, and we go also far above and beyond with our training. Our police officers are some of the best trained in the state. A part of that has to do also with our being CALIA accredited, which is under the purview of Deputy Chief Lepore.
So, yeah, and the way we also save lots of dollars is we have certified many of our in-house officers as train the trainers, so that or training the officers so that they can do the training themselves rather than have to hire outside or to bring somebody in from the outside. Any other questions from the commission, or?
I just want to say that I've gone back and looked at a bunch of the commission meetings in the past, and I'm amazed at the amount of officers and the training that they receive and the higher education. It's amazing.
We totally agree.
Yeah, very well trained. And the education is phenomenal.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments?
I agree with Commissioner Palladino. I mean, we just saw the remarkable performance of the earlier in the meeting, and the coordination, and that goes back to the training that we're discussing right now.
Next, we have the administrative report, and before you start, Deputy Chief Lepore, would you give Commissioner Palladino, because the Deputy Chief Dinho mentioned that we're CALIA trained, could you give a brief explanation of what that means?
Yes, Mayor. Good evening, everybody, and welcome Commissioner Palladino and other commissioners tonight. Yes, so we are a CALIA accredited agency, and CALIA is an acronym. It stands for the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. So that is a nationwide accreditation status that we hold, and we've held for many, many years now. And our good mayor here was the first one to start implementing it when he was in the police department. Basically what happens is, just like a nationally accredited college or hospital, the commission has put together a set of standards. So there's 483 standards that we abide by, and we get audited every year, and they make sure that we are in compliance with these standards and that we are held to a higher level of professionalism and, again, training and everything that we do, and we are at a nationally acceptable level. And that includes our training. So with Deputy Chief Dinho, who's in charge of training, there are some requirements that CALIA mandates for us on a yearly basis and also for post. So that contributes to the requirements that we have and all the training for our officers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Lepore.
Yes. Okay, so for our administrative report for this month, for the month of May, lieutenant that's in charge of our grants and inspections, he worked very closely with a couple of the administrators at City Hall to bring all of our grant balances. They're all up to date, and he completed all the reporting requirements to the grant administrators, whether it's the state or federal government. We are awaiting the Department of Justice authorization to reopen our high visibility grants, and then we'll have extra officers on the streets for summer and for events. We had 9 DUI grant hires for the Memorial Day weekend, resulting in, oh my God, I don't have it on here. Oh, I must have left that out. Resulting in, I think we had 27 car stops. They conducted 7 field sobriety tests, and with 5 breathalyzer analysis, leading to 9 DUI arrests. I'm sorry, it was 55 car stops, and they issued 44 infraction tickets. Lieutenant, in conjunction with the Marine Union, they are completing an application for a port security grant, which will put more funds towards our Marine unit and hopefully buying some more equipment that they are much needed. We also just recently were awarded the DOT, which is the Department of Transportation, Speed and Aggressive Driving Grant for $72,000, and it's to be utilized just in the month of July and August. So we will be having extra patrols out on the streets for that, and that's governed by specific times of day and days of week. So you'll see extra units out there for a patrol for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Mondays, and during our busiest times of day, whether it's the commute in the morning or commuting in the afternoon.
Deputy
Staff
Chief, I'm sorry.
Yes.
What's the approximate impact in terms of size and scope with the additional grant of 72K in terms of numbers? We're talking, 30, 40 to 20.
Okay, so it depends on what the shifts are that we're gonna do. So we usually do like 4-hour blocks. So we can cover like the 4 hours in the morning for the commute. We can cover 4 hours in the afternoon for the evening commutes. And then the busiest times of day or travel on the weekends, depending on if it's the 4th of July weekend or it's a holiday. So we split those hours into 4-hour groups. And then depending on the cost and anytime somebody goes over, if there's an accident, if there's a DUI, sometimes their hours go over. So we're talking about probably having about 10 officers
Okay.
over the
Okay.
weekends. Sometimes we'll have 3 or 4 each shift and every weekend. So, but we have to be able to utilize that money in a specific time frame, which only is like July 1st until I think it's August 30th.
Thank you.
Deputy Chief Lepore, can you explain what's meant by 9 DUI grant hires?
Yes, sir. So we have a DUI grant that's issued from the state, and we had 9 hires. So we were able to put 9 extra officers out on the street, and they were just directly looking for DUI arrests. And they're for DUI specific patrols. So again, depending on how much money we have and how many hours we can get them to work and that fit into that the allotted amount of money that we're given. And so we were able to put 9 extra hires, 9 extra officers out on the streets. And for those 9 officers, they conducted 55 car stops. They issued 44 infractions, and they conducted 7 field sobriety tests and 5 breathalyzer tests, leading to 9 DUI arrests. So that's their statistics for their hires for the grant.
Understood. And that's a one-time thing.
Well, we get the DUI grant, that's usually for a year, and we have reporting periods. And it starts in October, and then we have one that goes like through the holidays, and then we have January through, I believe it's April, and then we have May through July, which is the holiday, and we have to report, and we have specific numbers or a allotted amount of money that we can use and specific days and dates that we can only use the grant on. That's part of the stipulations for us to receive it. Yes, but the grant, we apply for that every year.
Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome. For staff inspections, we did not have any for the month of May. The next one on the list is the property room for this month in June. Our crime scene unit, they fingerprinted 105 people. 48 of them were for pistol permits this month. They processed 38 case requests for FOI or for court for DVDs and photos. They processed 26 cases for evidence for fingerprinting, swabbing, or ballistics. And they had 109 patrol cases processed for photographs of pictures of scenes and fingerprint submissions to the state lab to see if they can get hits on any fingerprints that they've lifted in some of the crimes that they processed. They conducted 3 background investigations for massage therapists for the Hand and Stone Spa that's going to be opening, and they did not have any solicitor permit requests for the month of May. For professional standards, PowerTime software is out and running in patrol at this time, and now we are expanding it to our dispatch center and trying to get the dispatch personnel and all their scheduling online. And then the professional standards division also is assisting Corporation Counsel with some investigative materials they're needed involving cases with the city of Norwalk that people have brought forward. For body and dashboard cameras, we had 1 camera, 1 body camera, 1 dashboard camera, and 1 control hub that were returned to Axon for repair or replacement. We had 40 new requests from FOIs for videos. We burned 7 discs for videos, and we had 17 electronic shares with Stanford Court.
You want to expound upon that just a little bit about what the FOI requests coming in for and the fact that a lot of them deal with the officers' body cams and so forth?
Absolutely, Mayor.
Thank you.
So what we have is, we are my division is in charge of all our dashboard and body camera videos. That whole unit is stored to a cloud. And when somebody has a police report or any interaction with the police officer, they're required to record on their body camera. So when somebody requests their police report, usually they request a copy of the video also. And that comes through our records division. And then our officer, I actually have a lieutenant that's in charge of it, and he handles all the processing of the evidence. So where that comes into play with like the report, so they want the copy of the body camera video, but they also have to download the dashboard camera video now too. And we have to make sure that he reviews it and we don't release anything that's not releasable under FOI. So he'll have to redact things. We don't release, names and addresses of victims and date of births and stuff like that. So he reviews all these hours of body camera video before they're released to the public. And he processes all that and he makes sure they're all tagged properly, because sometimes the case numbers, if an officer forgets to tag it or put in all the information for the case numbers and their identification. So he makes sure that everything is intact and everything is in place. And then also when they have to go to court. So a lot of the prosecutors or the judge or any of the investigators in any of the courts, whether it be, Stanford or Bridgeport or state police or anything, they could all request copies of our body camera videos and we send them to court. They are considered a partner agency with our software that we utilize. And so we just send it to them electronically. So it's just like getting an email. And it's a lot of work, it's a lot of coordination, and Lieutenant that does an excellent job. So yes, if you have any questions about body camera video or dashboard camera video, that's our business here.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that the police departments and actually other departments within the city from time to time are required to do, but no extra funding comes along. So we call them unfunded mandates. And unfortunately, a lot of times they get very expensive, but under Deputy Chief Lepore, we've had to assign a person specifically for that purpose of providing FOI requests and body cams and those kind of burning the DVDs and so forth. So it's really a total transparency, and I think in the long run, it serves the purpose that shows that the officers are doing a remarkable job, and a lot of times it tells their story as well as a story of someone else.
Great.
Yes. And let's see for our accreditation, we've had we're still working on our community continuity of operations plan that's being developed right now as a new directive and policy for our department. And then they're just continually working on accreditation. Like I said, we get audited every year, 25% of our files. And let's see, I think our next audit, they audit us in March every year. And then after the 4 years, with 25% every year being audited, after the 4 years, you have 100% audit, and they come in and actually will have like an inspector that comes in and conducts an audit with us, and we'll interview and we'll sit in on meetings and interview the public. They may interview any of the council members or commissioners, and they do our final write-up. So we get our certificate every 4 years. That's it.
Deputy Chief Lepore,
Yes.
is this new directive for co-op,
Mhm.
is that within CALEA? Is that another agency?
That is within CALEA. Yes, it's a new policy that they've come up with that has to be implemented. And they give us only so many months or a year or two, but when it comes out that you have to implement that policy. So we have the whole department actually, well, there's certain divisions that will be sitting down and they have to meet on it and they have to come up with a plan, to keep the continuity of our operations, you know, in regards to if there's like the bridge or there's a more bigger catastrophe, whether it's natural or man-made. We have to have a continuity of operations plan in effect.
Very good. And speaking of continuity of operations, you all, the administration, the police department, you all did an excellent job in May with that directing of traffic and keeping the city calm and keeping it flowing. I cannot give enough kudos for what you did and still responded to emergencies and calls within the city that were normal. You all did a phenomenal job. I don't know whether that will go in the report, but it ought to.
We definitely have a section for that. We do. So I'm actually working with Michelle DeLuca from City Hall and Emergency Management Planning. And of course, Deputy Chief Blake had a tremendous impact in all of that. And that is actually one of our proofs that we will have for them to review. And I'm sure they'll be happy with the way it came out.
And we did have an after action meeting to determine how things
Yes.
went, what was done phenomenally, what might have been done a little bit better. Those are, you know, it's a routine way of dealing with a catastrophic event, making sure that you sit down afterwards and talk about everything that you can possibly bring to the table to make sure it was, like I said, what could have been done better, but what was done well. And I give the state of Connecticut a tremendous amount of credit. The governor called me at 10 after 7 that morning, asked me what we needed. They were responding, they were here, and the police officers and the firefighters were phenomenal. It was just everything was done so well.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Any questions?
No, I also want to give my kudos to a job well done.
Yes, it was nothing short of amazing. A great job.
Okay, next we need to move forward on personnel matters. Drop plan of Detective Fitzmaurice. And looking at this, Deputy Chief Blake, I think it's supposed to be a drop plan for 5 years, not 20. I don't know how that got in.
Correct, I think, yes, Matt, that appears to be a typo. He hits his 20th year, I think is what he's, what he meant to say in here, but correct, that's correct.
So I think if we move it forward, whoever moves it forward needs to make the amendment of the drop plan for 5 years, not 20.
Correct.
So who would like to move that forward?
I'll move. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Tony.
I'll move that the drop be move forward for the request to participate in the drop plan for 5 years, beginning on October 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2024. 2029, excuse me.
Yes. And who would like to explain to Commissioner Palladino what the drop plan is?
Thank you.
Commissioner, Detective Fitzmaurice is applying for the drop plan, which is approved by the commission or not approved by the commission. He hits his 20th year of service on the 30th of, I'm sorry, 10/1 of 2024. At that point, he has the option to retire because he has the age as well. So the drop plan is a deferred retirement plan where he technically retires from the police department, but remains working. So he no longer pays into his pension and such, but he remains working. So it allows, one, we don't lose a very seasoned veteran detective, which is a benefit to everybody. And it also lets us know that on the 30th of September 2029, we are going to be losing Detective Fitzmaurice to a full retirement, and it helps us for planning purposes. So it's a big advantage to the city overall, and certainly helpful to the officers who participate in the drop plan.
And what's the requirement? They have to be of what age?
To retire, you have to be age 48, and you have to have 20 years of service.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay, so who's going, Deputy Chief, are you going to explain that we have the paperwork and so forth?
Correct. Administrative Manager Mickey Dosimo has reviewed and came up with all the calculations that are correct, along with the typo on the request form. that's now been amended. So everything is in order and for your review.
So basically, what happens is the money that the officer would have received if he retired outright, they'll be put in an annuity for that officer for a period of 5 years. At the end of that 5 years, the officer must retire and terminate his service with the police department. And then that money in the annuity that's been built up over 5 years will be available to him.
Thank you.
Any discussion or comment on that? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and we thank Detective, right, Fitzmaurice, for his service and move forward to vacation carryover request. Do I have somebody moving that forward?
I'll move that forward.
Okay, Commissioner Palladino moves forward the vacation request for Deputy Chief Dinho. Deputy Chief Blake, do you want to, or Deputy Chief Dinho, do you want to talk about it?
I think this is just an administrative matter, Mayor, just looking for the commission to approve a 10-day carryover, which is in our contracts.
And this is a routine request.
Yes.
Oftentimes, Commissioner Palladino, because of the nature of their business, the officers on the police department or especially in the administrative level of deputy chief and chief are not often able to take vacation days because of the different events that occur. And so sometimes they build up an amount of vacation that they just can't use. So we allow them to carry it over. And in some cases, we also entertain a request to buy out some of the vacation days at the current level.
Understood. Thank you, Mayor.
Any questions on this? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have complimentary letters. Chief, Deputy Chief?
Yes, we have a bunch. Dear Chief Walsh, I want to extend my sincere appreciation for the assistance your agency gave to the Greenwich Police Department on Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. In particular, K-9 Police Officer Ricky Montanez and his partner K-9 Cairo, who responded to Greenwich to assist with locating multiple auto theft suspects. Officer Montanez and his K-9 arrived on the scene quickly and supported my officers in the search of the area. Ultimately, we were able to locate and arrest 5 individuals. You should be proud to have such a skilled and professional team working for you. Please extend my gratitude to K-9 Officer Montanez for his and K-9 Cairo's assistance. Yours truly, Chief James Heavey of the Greenwich Police Department.
Fantastic job. It's always good to share resources. Commissioner Palladino, we also have in the state of Connecticut, what's called mutual aid, where we can share resources with other police departments if necessary. We sometimes will rely on them and sometimes they'll rely on us.
How many K-9 officers are there?
We have 4 currently. The next letter was actually someone who reached out to me in the community, Dave Hoffman, who owns H.J. Hoffman over on Day Street. He wanted to make me aware of an incident involving Officer Michael McCary. He said on Sunday, May 5th, he observed Officer McCary approaching a woman who was loading large boxes into her vehicle on Day Street. Without hesitation, Officer McCary began lifting and loading the boxes, which was appreciated by the woman. His act of kindness while working a construction job was really great to see.
That's something that we see a lot of officers just stepping outside of their duties to assist. Again, that's very gratifying to see those things.
And again, I received a text message from recently retired Fire Marshal Broderick Sawyer. He indicated we have a young officer working a construction job in front of his house. His wife has a daycare there, and the children enjoyed watching the trucks at the fence, and the officer has engaged with the children in a great manner. Many props to him, an excellent young man. He was a great impression on the kids. And this was Officer Ben Coase, who, as you probably remember, was recently hired. He's been on the road for about a year out of the academy and doing a great job.
Very much so. Good.
The next letter is from Norwalk Community College. On May 7th, 2024, the Norwalk Police Department K-9 unit did a presentation for my careers in criminal justice class at NCC. The unit did a PowerPoint discussion with the class and then showed the dogs at work. I would like to thank you for allowing them to come up and for the exceptional job that officers David Peterson, Konstantin Arvanatakis, and Richard Montanez did handling and explaining their jobs. The officers, as well as the dogs, represented the Norwalk Police Department in a professional manner, and it made me proud to have been part of the Norwalk Police Department. The equipment used, the dogs, and the officers was impressive. Thank you, and please thank the officers for taking time out of their busy schedules to demonstrate to my students the use of canines in police work. Every student told me they enjoyed it as well. Sincerely, Gary Makosi, who was a retired sergeant from the Norwalk Police Department and is an instructor or is a professor at Norwalk Community College.
Great.
All right. Couple more here. I just want to thank the officer that came out here in response to my call that my electric wheelchair had been taken from the hallway and put out on the front porch. I do not know the reason why. I do not know the reason why. However, he did bring it back into my hallway, and not only that, he carried up the stairs for me so I could get it into my apartment and not worry about anyone else stealing it, as I would not be able to make my appointments without it. I don't know his name, but know you're very thankful. And my brother is a retired captain from the Danbury Police Department, and he did 40 years and 8 months and 3 weeks. So again, I know about the Brotherhood and the police department, and I didn't even mention this, and you still went above and beyond, so thank you. And this was from Diane Mulvey on Woodbury Avenue, and this was Officer Nash who assisted her with this particular issue she was having.
Good, thank you.
And the last one, which went to Chief Walsh and Mayor Rilling. Last Saturday, the Spread Island Yacht Club held a CPR and AED training for our launch operators. Our members and lead instructor had previously met with Officer Owen Lee in the community and made a connection. Through this connection, we had the pleasure of hosting Officer Lee, Sergeant Bisegli, Officer Suda, and other members of the Marine unit on the island. The officers spoke to our launch operators and shared best practices for communicating with them and working together to handle emergencies on the island. As an island, we have a unique logistics and challenges when it comes to emergency situations. Through these discussions, we had established better plans and improved the safety of our membership. Our entire club is very grateful to Officers Lee and Suda, Sergeant Bisegli, and the entire Marine unit for spending time with us on a busy weekend to build relationships and educate our team. You have a strong group of police professionals who represent the city well, and this was sent to us by Carson Coyle, who is the Commodore of the Sprite Island Yacht Club.
Very nice, and I must add that I had a recent communication with Sergeant Biscegli and Officer Owen Lee myself. But I want to, it's really nice to see that people take the time to write about the good works of the police department. And I have to say that from my observation and the information that I see from the chief and others and things that come through my office, the complimentary letters and the praise of the police department far outweigh any of the complaints that might come forward. And oftentimes, the complaints are a misunderstanding or something like that. And when it's explained to the person that has an inquiry, they totally understand. And it kind of helps them and makes them feel better that it took time to explain what their concern was and why it happened the way it did. But just congratulations to the officers for all the wonderful things that they do. Any comments from the commission before we adjourn?
I concur. I also want to commend all the officers with the commentary letters that we received. It reflects the community really liking what the policemen are doing and how they're serving the community, which is important.
Yes, I've been a commissioner for some time now, and the complimentary letters that seem to be increasing. I believe the public is really responding to the professionalism, the community policing objectives that the department has, taking it to heart, trusting them, and just giving kudos where they are deserved. And I'm just thankful that they do that because they don't have to.
In my personal experience with a lot of police officers that I've seen in the past and encountered their professionalism, and they're just very nice, and they're down to earth and treat you like just you're a friend, and their professionalism and is much appreciated.
Thank you all. And Commissioner Palladino, I'm sure that if you wish to meet with the deputy chief or the chief to kind of go over anything that you might want to know about, they'd be more than happy to set up a meeting with you and answer any questions you have. The other thing is, I know that we had a public comment relative to a lot of things that might be covered in police commission meetings. I would encourage people to get on the mayor's dashboard and look at the wealth of information that's there, not only about the police department, but about every single department within the city. We have a tremendous wealth of information that people will see, that with its total transparency about the things that are being done, what was being done, where the dollars are being spent for people, especially the taxpayers, to understand where their dollars are going. And certainly we also are able to answer any questions that people may have when they get on the dashboard. So it's on the city website. It's under Mayor's Dashboard, and there's a wealth of information there that people might want to take a look at. Some of the things that were brought up might be during the public comment, might be subject to HIPAA violations. So we have to be very, very careful about those kinds of things too. So there's a lot of information that dealing with personnel issues that we may not be able to give out. So again, now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
It is 5:33. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And we are adjourned at 5:33. Thank you all, and have a great week.
Thank you.